Emily always joked that our apartment in Capitol Hill was too small for secrets. Yet secrets have a talent for shrinking themselves until they slip between the floorboards. I learned that on a gray Thursday, the kind of damp Pacific Northwest morning when even the pigeons look like they've hit snooze too many times. She'd rushed off, claiming she'd be late to her Pilates class. I stayed behind to hunt for my missing AirPods, digging under cushions, tugging open drawers, and finally nudging aside the heap of half-read novels on her nightstand. There, wedged between Colleen Hoover and a dog-eared copy of Pride and Prejudice, was a slim, rose-gold notebook, one I'd never seen her use. I thought it might be a gratitude journal. It was, in a way. Inside, in her looping teal ink, every page held a date, a bullet point list, and a tiny doodle of a heart with an arrow. April 17th, left his favorite cold brew in his mailbox before dawn. April 18th, bought the limited edition vinyl, hid it under passenger seat. April 19th, sent mid-meeting DoorDash burgers so he wouldn't skip lunch. At first I grinned. How sweet! Emily was cataloging things she did for me. But half a page later my name finally appeared, and it was introduced with a slash. May 2nd, dinner with Alex, then drove to Jason's, massaged his neck while he graded drafts. I read the slash twice. My stomach made that roller coaster dip you only feel when something irreversible has already happened. Jason? We knew one Jason. Jason Harris, the alt weekly reporter we'd met at a neighborhood block party, the guy who complained craft beer was mainstreaming altruism. The notebook fluttered in my hands like a trapped bird. Line after line, date after date, the evidence kept piling. Concert tickets she won but actually bought for him, cookies she baked for the office, but hand-delivered to his loft, those late-night study sessions she swore were with her MBA cohort. A year's worth of curated kindness, none meant for me. I didn't slam the notebook shut. I closed it carefully, the way you hang up on a dying phone call you aren't ready to end. I didn't text her, didn't call Jason, didn't throw clothes in a garbage bag. Instead, I sat on the couch and stared at the rain carving mirrors on the window. She was cheating, yes, but she was also celebrating it, turning betrayal into a scavenger hunt of good deeds. And that's when the first spark of something wild ignited behind my eyes. If she could delight one man with covert kindness, maybe I could delight strangers the same way. Grand scale, anonymously. Not to hurt her, not at first. I just wanted to reclaim the idea that generosity could exist without a hidden receipt. That evening, I biked to Pike Place and left 20 prepaid coffee vouchers at the register, scribbling, "For whomever's having a rough day, from a friend." I slipped $100 into a busker's open guitar case and asked for no song in return. I found a couple arguing over a parking meter and, heart-hammering, paid the fine before they could finish cursing. Every act I mirrored from Emily's notebook I rebooted for a random person. Vinyl became a vintage Ella Fitzgerald record for the retiree who perused Easy Street Records every Thursday. The DoorDash burgers morphed into 24 breakfast burritos dropped off at Harborview's night shift nurses. I signed none of it. Seattle started whispering its own legend. Some folks called me the Umbrella Samaritan. Nurses tagged me Mr. Breakfast. The more her secret romance blossomed, the louder my secret kindness echoed. About a month in, Emily began mentioning an article trending on Reddit. The serial stranger of Seattle, one man's mission to make anonymous kindness go viral. Her eyes glittered when she read pull quotes aloud while we brushed our teeth. "It's like a real-life superhero," she said, toothpaste froth ghosting her smile. I nodded, mouth full of mint, pulse thundering. I had no idea Jason was the journalist behind the piece, until a Tuesday midnight drop published his byline. Jason Harris. Same curly headline photo I'd seen on his Instagram, same ironic grin. He wrote that the city's phantom giver seems to understand people better than they understand themselves. That in an age of doom-scrolling cynicism, one man chooses daily, deliberate light. He begged the Samaritan to step forward for an interview. I nearly laughed out loud. His plea was addressed to me and he didn't even know it. The next morning, Emily floated through the front door clutching fresh donuts. "She wants to celebrate the article," she said, but I heard the slip. She, not we. She kissed my cheek, powdered sugar clinging, and retreated to shower. I opened her notebook again. Yesterday's entry glowed in wet ink. June 12th, surprised Jason with a midnight stroll after his story went live. He said he's never felt more understood. I closed it slowly, breath uneven. I'd been rewriting her devotion into municipal folklore, and she was still scripting love letters to the wrong hero. That afternoon, I bought a prepaid ad slot on Jason's newspaper website, scheduling it for the following Friday. 3 simple lines on a blank background. Dear JH, the kindness you chronicle is your girlfriend's boyfriend. Ask her about the notebook. No signature, no flourish, just an address line only he and Emily would parse. Then I waited, my insides vibrating like a cable under tension. When the banner finally rotated across the homepage at 9 a.m., the newsroom chat must have detonated. Twitter caught the tremor in minutes. I sat in our dark living room, phone off, blinds drawn, imagining Jason's face blanch as puzzle pieces clicked. Samaritan equals Alex, Alex equals Emily's partner, Emily equals secret string puller. Across town, her phone surely exploded in notifications. It took less than an hour for her key to scrape the lock. She found me standing by the window, rain streaking behind me like stage lighting. Tears blurred her mascara into river deltas. She opened her mouth, but the TV behind us flashed a breaking news lower third. Jason Harris reporting live about himself. Sources confirm, he said, voice quivering between hurt and awe. The anonymous benefactor is the boyfriend of the woman I've been seeing. The camera never named her, but the truth was already airborne, irreversible, broadcast to every cafe where my coffees had warmed winters, to every hospital corridor echoing with burrito gratitude. Emily's breath hitched. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. For the first time, the apartment truly felt too small for secrets, especially ones big enough to be headline news. Emily's first syllable cracked like a glass ornament dropped from too high, my name stretched between apology and panic. I couldn't answer. My throat felt tarred shut. I just gestured toward the muted TV, where the chyron scrolled, mysterious Samaritan revealed in love triangle. Her cheeks blanched. She fumbled for the remote, turned the volume up, and there was Jason, live from outside the newsroom. Eyes red-rimmed, but voice steady enough for prime time. He explained, without naming anyone, that the benefactor had contacted the paper through an anonymous tip line, that the man's identity raised complicated ethical and personal considerations, and that he, Jason Harris, would step back from the story pending a conflict of interest review. Emily stumbled backward as if every new word shoved her. She muttered something about misunderstandings, spun half circles, palms flat against her temples. I watched her realize that every gift she'd curated now glowed under sodium lamps of public scrutiny. Strangers mapping pins on forums, Reddit sleuths building timelines. The city we loved was suddenly small again, but in the way a pressure cooker is small. I can fix this, she rasped, grabbing her purse. I'll drive over there, I'll talk to him. You've done enough field work, I said, voice unfamiliar even to me. It wasn't anger, it was conclusion. She reached for my arm, I let it hang like rope. Outside, sirens Dopplered along Madison Street, someone else's emergency mirroring ours. She set the notebook on the coffee table, its soft cover trembling from her shake. For a second I wondered if it was begging me to burn it, to cauterize the evidence. Instead, I opened the front door. You should go, I managed. She looked like she might faint, then darted past me, rain swallowing her. The notebook and I were alone again. My phone buzzed a dozen times, unknown numbers, blocked callers, reporters fishing. One text came from a local area code without a name. Meet me where you left the coffees 8 p.m. I didn't need Google Translate to hear Jason's voice in it. I made the walk to Pike Place after dusk, hood up, wet neon reflecting off the cobblestones. He was already there by the pig statue, newspaper tote slung across his chest, posture caved. We didn't shake hands. You used me, he said first. I used your platform, I corrected. The city needed to see kindness untethered from romance. He scoffed, rain beating on his lashes. And humiliation is your thesis statement? No, I sighed. Accountability is. I pulled the notebook from my jacket and held it out. This is yours to read. Your source was writing the story long before you. Jason took it carefully, like evidence at a crime scene. He flipped pages, lips parting at the meticulous tally of affections he'd mistaken for organic. She said she was tired of performative charity culture, he murmured, thumb brushing teal ink. Turns out she was producing it. Wind whipped the sound behind us, tangling gull cries with fairy horns. I felt lighter and heavier at once. Every secret spoken weighs less, but matters more. Are you going to publish it? I asked. That depends, he said, snapping the notebook shut. What do you want? I looked past him. Across the market stalls shuttered for night. The city doesn't need to know her name. People got breakfast. Buskers got rent money. Let the kindness stand. He considered, then nodded once, pocketing the notebook like live ammo. I'll write a retraction. Say the benefactor's identity remains private. Say the acts matter more than the actor. And Emily? Emily needs to reckon with why giving felt like taking. His voice was softer now, less journalist, more man wounded twice. We parted without ceremony. On the walk home, I half expected paparazzi, but the streets were busy with their own griefs and groceries. I reached our building and found Emily's spare key on the doormat, taped to a note. Gone to Mom's in Portland. I'm sorry. No flourish, no hearts, just 4 words strangled by rain. Inside, the apartment felt cavernous. I brewed tea and opened Reddit out of morbid curiosity. The top thread under Arsh Seattle was Jason's revision. The Samaritan's story isn't a romance, it's a reminder. Comments debated whether anonymity elevated the gestures or whether identity verified them. Some users wondered if the whole saga was viral marketing. I typed a single reply under a burner username. If a tree plants another tree in the forest and no one hears, the forest still grows. I clicked post and closed the laptop. Sometime after midnight, my phone blinked with one last message. From an unknown contact forwarding a hospital photo. Night shift nurses posed with fresh burritos, holding a hand-drawn sign, "We pay it forward tomorrow." Beneath the image was a voicemail transcription. A woman's voice, maybe one of the nurses, said, "Your secret's safe, but your ripple isn't." I sat on the living room floor, steam curling from my mug, and let the words settle like new paint. The city was already rewriting my story into theirs, and maybe that was the best possible sequel. Thousands of notebooks yet unwritten, teal ink waiting to chart kindness without footnotes, or footnotes that confess what the heart truly wants. 2 weeks without Emily recalibrated time itself. Days felt like phone screens dimmed to battery-saver gray, yet nights pulsed neon, each hour daring me to redefine who I was without her shadow. I spent them wandering Broadway after bar close, carrying a pocket full of preloaded transit cards and a Sharpie. When I spotted tired cooks or dozing students at the Route 49 stop, I'd slip a card into their hands, sketching a tiny umbrella beside the balance so they knew it came from Seattle's unofficial mascot. Strangers began echoing the symbol in chalk on sidewalks, on notes taped to drive-through windows, on the back of receipts left as extra tips. The city was composing its own fan fiction of kindness, and I was only one ghostwriter among hundreds. One drizzly Sunday, I joined a volunteer crew refurbishing Cal Anderson's worn-out basketball courts. No one recognized me. They just handed me a roller soaked in skyline blue paint and joked about earning Samaritan karma. By noon, we had erased the spiderweb cracks, and the guy next to me, Marcus, an Amazon warehouse lead, said he'd taken a personal day after reading that Nurses and Burritos post. Figured I'd toss a stone in the pond. He shrugged. I realized the legend had detached from its origin like a dandelion seed. Wherever it landed, new stories rooted. That night, while I cataloged leftover rollers in the equipment shed, headlights swept across the chain link. Emily stepped out of a rideshare, hoodie up, eyes puffy but determined. She didn't cross the grass. She waited at the gate as if the blacktop were sacred. I walked over, heart a confused metronome. "I'm not here for a grand apology tour," she said before I could speak. "I'm here to give you this." From her tote, she produced a fresh notebook, charcoal cover, pages blank except for the first. For anyone, from everyone. No signature, just the umbrella symbol drawn in my own hurried style. "I've started mailing empties like this to people who posted the chalk umbrellas," she went on. "They'll fill them, pass them along. No room for slashes." Rain stitched silvery lines between us, and for a moment I smelled the cinnamon sugar of her donuts, heard the echo of Jason's broadcast, felt every fracture and fuse that led here. "I can't walk back what I did," she said, voice steady. "But I can walk forward beside what you started, if you'll let me." She didn't ask to come home. She didn't mention love. She offered co-authorship of a story already bigger than both of us. I took the notebook, thumbed its crisp edge. Somewhere behind us, teenagers were christening the new court, sneakers squealing like jazz horns. I glanced at Emily, then at the kids banking shots under misty floodlights, then at the city that had taught us secrets could bloom into public good if given air. I opened the gate. We didn't kiss, didn't declare anything. We just walked side by side toward the court, and when a loose ball rolled our way, I scooped it up, spun it once, and lobbed a pass to the nearest player. His grin lit up the drizzle. The game carried on, umbrella scrawls multiplying in chalky halos around the three-point line. Behind them, the rest of Seattle breathed like a tide, ready for the next anonymous ripple.